White Navy.
Hello, hello everybody. Hi, my name is Wilson Chembo Corniel, and I'm honored again to be part of the New York Latin Jazz series, giving you some information on what I do in my instrument as a percussionist for my forte, my love of the music of Latin jazz. Even though my roots are in salsa, when I first started playing these drums at the time, so many years ago. But we're talking about Latin jazz because for 25 years, the last 25 years, my group has been part of the Neo Rican Poets Cafe Latin Jazz series um, for that amount of time. I played there with different groups before that, and now 25 years with my group. I think it's a big accomplishment for me and for my group because the Neo Rican with my band playing at the Neo Rican, we formed our sound. We formed our sound there, and this is where I got to put a lot of music together, and we can experiment because the Neo Rican is a place like that where you can go there and experiment and be yourself and try new things, just like the poetry, just like all of their shows that they have there, would either be rap or any other theater that they have there. So it's a place for us to experiment, and it kind of put a style to my sound by doing that, by being free enough to perform. And Latin jazz is that style of music. It's more improv because the jazz is there. The Latin, which we have the Latin percussion instruments mixed in with the jazz instruments, which is your basic, you know, bass, piano, and your horns and stuff like that. But when you have a traditional jazz group, they don't include congas that much. They do. They have their own percussionists here, but they have a strict style of just straight ahead jazz, which you can adapt, and you have to learn that style of playing jazz on your instrument on these congas here. So it's no longer now an instrument to play Latin music or salsa. So now you can play jazz and adapt rhythms to your drum to that style of music. You can't play salsa style. It doesn't require too much of that type of a style to fit into the jazz idiom. Uh, we also have a lot of different rhythms that we can apply, a lot of different time signatures that's in jazz. We play like some stuff in 7, in 6/8, 5/4. So these are a lot of different things to look at when you're playing Latin jazz. So you don't think of it as instrumental salsa because that's some other stuff there now, So playing like I know there's some groups that they say Latin jazz. For them, the idea is to play instrumental salsa music, which instead of the singer, a horn would do the melody of the singer, and to that effect. Uh, but Latin jazz is what I do. It is what I love. I started, like I said, in salsa, so I have my salsa roots, and I was able to turn and change over to Latin jazz by being raised here in New York, born and raised here. I got a chance to play with a lot of different styles, a lot of different R&B, pop, rock, flamenco, um, Afro Peruvian, Afro Dominican, Afro Colombian. All of these musics are here in the city, which I heard and I grew up listening to Motown, Marvin Gaye. So all that stuff is all connected into my arsenal, if you will, of the music that I can try to interpret in those styles with the congas by adapting, listening to bass lines that I can follow, and make my own little pop kind of a beat, so it doesn't have to be tumbao all the time, which I'm going to explain now the basic tumbao again for the people who weren't here last time. Over here, I have four congas. The real name of these drums are tumbadoras. All right, esto es una tumbadora. Now you see I have four. The basic one, people will play, is the lead drum here, one conga. Other people will play two in salsa. In salsa, they'll use two drums, right? Sometimes three. For salsa, you could do that too. If you're hearing this, you can hear I have different notes on each drum, right? So this is another thing that we do when you're a conga player. You have to tune your instrument like any other instrument. You see a person play a violin. They're not just going to grab the violin and just play it. They have to tune it. So you have to think as an instrument like a violin or piano. So these drums are tuned to a certain chord. For instance, I have here F, G, B flat, C. That's what gives me those melodies there. So each drum I hit is going to be a different note. So you could be more creative. In Latin jazz, you have to be more creative. So if I play multiple congas for Latin jazz, you can do melodies. You can do stuff that Patato, which he was one of my influences. He played melodies on his congas. Candido, he loves to do the manteca melody, which goes. Santana. So this is what gives it that effect, So when you're a percussionist or a conga player, I don't know how many people out there are percussionists there or play another instrument, piano, bass, horns. But this is my aspect, my point that I learned from these other masters when I was growing up, and I learned a lot of technique, melodies, tuning. It's part of the drum, just like it's part of any other instrument. Okay, so I learned that, and what it does, it enhances these whole melodies that I do when I play at a gig, and I can do solos, and I would throw a melody in there, which makes it a little bit more interesting, So, all those little things that you pick up doing this, and your technique, your sound also, you gotta get a good sound out of the drum. That's one of the hardest things to do because it takes time and practice to do that. For instance, I'm going to go over the sounds, the basic sounds for the people who are just beginners. I know there's probably different levels if any percussionist is there. Just want to go over this again. I do this all the time because a lot of people will miss this part of it. It's like learning your instruments, and learning what you have to do first. Out of one drum, you get four basic sounds. You could get more, but the basic are four, which is your open tone, which is you hit the drum from here, your four fingers here on the top, from this point here where the bottom of the fingers connect, and just bounce. Don't leave it on the skin. Gotta bounce your hand. Okay. The second one is a slap. So that's gonna be more of this type of thing here. It's like a pop. So you got your open tone and your slap. It's more like a whip, and only your fingertips are touching. It's like a curve. It's gonna fall into a curve, and your fingertips are touching the middle of the drum. And you have to do it with your left hand also. That rhythm right with those two sounds. If you do this, do a little faster. You get that kind of effect. So all those little tricks and that all those techniques that you have to know and know how to hit the drum in order for that rhythm to come out, that melody to come out. Another sound, what we do, your whole palm in the middle of the drum, you get this bass tone. It's like a okay, so that's open tone, slap, and bass. Now, what happens if I hit two bass and two open tones? Oh, oh, beep, beep. Okay. Again, faster. I'm doing the open tone and slap like the first one. And then I'm doing the bass and the open tone. The next sound you get is a muff tone, which is, it's like the open tone. But what you're doing, you're choking the skin. You're not letting it bounce. You're choking it. You can hear it better on this lower drum. Open tone and muff. So you apply pressure to hold down the skin from bouncing. So now you have, right? Now with those four tones, with those four notes, we do a tumbao, which this is the basic pattern. 90% of all this rock and roll and all this other music is based on this tumbao. There's other rhythms, but basically, my left hand is doing the bass. My right hand is doing the slap and open tone. you get all these different melodies, and really what we're doing is substituting. Just like when I did with those four notes, right? Two open tones and two slaps. I substituted. I did instead of I went so or bass and tone. So we get all these melodies by just substituting and working it out with the other drums here. Okay. So in Latin jazz is this is this tumbao is in 4/4 time. If you know music, is what I know the general public is. It's something new for some people who are not musicians. A lot of poets come in also to see our shows. But this is basically a 4/4 pattern, a common time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and in Latin jazz and in jazz, we also play in different time signatures. So time signature is a different measurement in the beats. 4/4 has 4 quarter notes, 6/8 has 6 of the 8 notes there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. So you feel a different groove there. So we have to, this is why I chose to go into more Latin jazz, because it gives me a little bit more freedom. Also, it gives me the freedom of experimenting other time signatures, and then on top of that, you have to embellish. You have to know your rhythms in order for that to enhance any other songs that you're playing in a 6/8 form, or even in a 4/4, 5/4, 7/4. So in Latin jazz, we do work with different time signatures more than like in salsa, which is basically a 4/4 pattern, which is the tumbao. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You can embellish in the 4/4 patterns, knowing these techniques and knowing melodies. Here's back to the Chano Pozo, one of Candido's melodies, introduced with a basic 4/4 pattern. So back to the Santana one, maybe. And back to your tumbao. So I could play these melodies in between the song that we're playing. We could be playing Oye Como Va Tú, and I'll sneak it in. We could be playing Manteca, and I could do as a hint, like this is the tune. So it depends where you want to put it in a solo also. So what the most important thing is to get those 4 sounds out of the drum, which is the open tone, slap, slap, bass, which is you're hitting with the palm of your hand right in the middle. And the muff note, muff tone, which is just choking the sound. You're not letting the skin vibrate like an open tone. Again. Muff tones are used a lot, which is a beautiful sound. It's used a lot in the 6/8 kind of a feel because it's got that other voice. A lot of colors, you know, a lot of voices. That voice is so rich. So it's like another tone on your voice when you're speaking. Vocabulary. So you only use it when it's necessary, when it's really called for. I like to do it in solos and also basic patterns, you know, to give a little color. And it's like an extra voice that I like to. And also the lower the drum, the more pronounced. The basic 4/4 pattern I told you is this. So you have the slap, the tone. My left hand is doing the bass. Keeping a pulse on 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this left hand is my timekeeper. I'm not leading this. You're hearing this. But this here is your 1. This is, so I'm following this pulse here. And then my right hand is following. It's through the syncopation of the left hand. So I'm hearing, like say on the click track, I would match my left hand to the beat. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's keeping me. I'm making sure that's in time with the clave or the click track, or this is the basic beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. My right hand is going to follow automatically for any of the percussionists who understands. I know there's probably some other people there just playing other instruments, but this is what I do. And just to give you a little insight on how I follow up on my drumming and techniques and stuff like that, to enhance the style of playing in Latin jazz, which that's what we do at the New York Post Cafe, like I said, with my group. So therefore, I'm hearing, so I match with the cowbell, like the bongo player has a cowbell playing ko, tiko, tiko, tiko. That ko is my left hand. Ko, tiko, tiko. keep, and if he's speeding up, I'm locking in with him here. My right hand is following. I'm not leading with my right hand. I'm not doing this. I'm doing, and that keeps you more precision, more accurate in your timing. So this is what I learned throughout the years, because sometimes you're playing and you feel like you're dragging, or the song is dragging and you don't know why. And these little hints like that, as you play for many years, I picked up along the way. So besides keeping getting your stamina, also enough so you won't get tired playing faster tunes, because we're the only ones who was playing physically besides a drummer, nonstop from the beginning of the tune till the end. Not like a horn player who'll play a couple of lines or relax and he'll come back again. But this is ours. It's more physical. Now, right? And it's in tempo with the 4/4. It's in tempo with the 4/4. Because I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's mathematically correct because it's in the phrase there. So when I'm hearing this, especially when I play a cha-cha, for instance, my soloing techniques for a tempo like a cha-cha, which is right? It's about the tempo of a cha-cha right there. So when I solo, I'm hearing this. Or double time. But it's still there. Mathematically, it's correct. But the feel of taking a solo, I would do it in a 6 feel, and it sounds a whole lot more interesting. You know, it's 6 feel or double time and come back, and vice versa. If there's something happening like this, I hear this. So even so so this is subdividing some of your creativity, some of the language of learning other drums, other rhythms also. So I could be playing, for instance, a 6/8, which is the basic pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the basic pattern for the 6/8. Now there's other 6/8 patterns, Afro, more African-based rhythms like Abakwa, for instance. You know, I know, and I learned Abakwa, Arara, Bata. You know, so all those rhythms, I would bring it into that 6/8. I wouldn't play. Now, an Abakwa is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would cut it up and play that rhythm, which people who know he's playing Africa, you know, he's playing the stuff from back there, you know. So whoever understands that and know those rhythms, you're speaking to that person now, because I know he knows what you're doing. He knows where you're coming from with that, and especially that's when you play Abakwa, it's a certain style of soloing to the Abaqua than a 6/8. It could be combined, but it's another language also that when it goes into the 6/8, I could do. So little things like that by knowing our rhythms, knowing a lot of different rhythm, not only Afro-Cuban, Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Dominican, Afro-Colombian. It's all mixed. It's all mixed. 'Cause now they're mixing all these rhythms to Latin jazz. They're mixing Afro-Cuban music. You got cumbia, and you have also from Puerto Rico, bomba. You have plena from Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, the plena is played with a banderas. They're like round, kind of a tambourine sound, but without the bells on it. And they play it this way here. So one of the beats that is three sizes: a large one, a middle, and a small one. The larger one would just go down beats, and then the middle one. So what I'm doing is using three or four different patterns and uniting them and make a hybrid, so I could bring that rhythm, that authentic rhythm into this music. So it's not only going to be if they want to hear like a bomba, playing that jazz. I would bring what they play in those instruments, and I do a little combination of that there, even of some bata stuff that we do in case we have to go into some bata or Afro-Cuban kind of rhythms. There's one that's called Chachalo Kafung. Is that bass on again? So you have to know all the aspects of all the rhythms as much as you can. There's so much to learn and so much to find out and to research. It takes two lifetimes. Tabla is some other stuff. I don't even touch that. That's another lifetime with tabla. It's so rich. But those rhythms and the time signatures with those rhythms are like out of this world. It's out of this world. And I would need really to just put everything apart and just to get that just to study that part, So you have to be really focused to learn it right. And if you're going to learn it, you start it and finish. You start it and you learn it correctly. I don't want to touch it and leave it. It's like it doesn't serve a purpose for me unless I know it enough so I can perform at least the basics. So it's the same thing with the congas when you play Latin jazz. Sometimes as a percussionist, you not only get to play congas, because you're a percussionist. It doesn't mean only a conga player. Sometimes you have to play with some other toys. I got a lot of toys, but this is another thing, a shekere that we play with. It's also part of the 6/8 that it's gonna be kind of loud. I don't know. I don't want to put it to. I don't want it to disturb. So this, so it's you have an arsenal of different effects, triangles. I got some maracas there. Another instrument I use for the Latin music, guido. So you have to really touch base a little bit of each instrument here to embellish the stuff that you do. If you go to a recording session, you never know what they're gonna want. So I always bring a little bit of everything because to cover each corner, they might want a tambourine or other effects, a little egg shaker. But it's knowing when to do that, when to shake it, when to put the guido in, where. So all that it takes time because it's an art form. Because you just don't ring your chimes and start going crazy because it's there. There's a certain spot, a certain interlude, a certain introduction where they might need it, and that's what it's called for. A guido also for cha cha cha. So there's a lot of different instruments, but the basic instrument for Latin music are the claves. These two little sticks here because this clave in Spanish means key. This is the key to Latin music right here. It's a 2-bar phrase that we use for arrangers. People who arrange Latin music have to write in 2-bar phrases to follow a certain pattern that we play on these claves here. And I'll play the basic 3/2 clave, which I'm going to hit 3 hits on 1 bar and 2 hits on the second bar. So that's really five hits, right? 3 and 2. We call this cinquillo, cinco, which those 5 beats are implied in a lot of the other countries of Latin America that follows this clave, even Africa too, because they'll do the 6/8 clave here. But these 5 beats. In Brazil, for bossa novas, it sounds similar, but this is the rhythm for the bossa nova beat. And for Brazil, for any Brazilian kind of bossa nova, it goes. still have 5 beats. You still have 5 beats. That's a cinquillo. In bomba in Puerto Rico, when we do the basic bomba pattern in one drum, we have a qua. It's called qua, C-U-A. So those one, 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 one. So that's a cinquillo. So those 5 beats are implied on a lot of music, um, South American music. We also have the Cuban clave. They call it Cuban clave, but what it is, it's like the 3/2 son clave. That's called son clave because they play that style to all straight ahead salsa, son montuno music, traditional music. Now, for when we play rumba, as far as Afro-Cuban music, guaguancó, Colombia, yambu, the clave is played with the end of 4. So if you count the son clave, 1, 2, 3, 4, it lands on the 4. The rumba clave or the Cuban clave lands on the end of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's opposed to rumba. The 6/8 is implied in the rumba clave. So you can even use the rumba clave for 6/8 because it fits in. Well, they use for abacua, they use, but with a bell, a cowbell. That's also used when we play Afro-Cuban music, Afro-Cuban rhythms. I'm just going to go over a little bit on the rumba of guaguancó, Havana style. So this is also, it's so much to do because you have rumba. Rumba is a basic group of rhythms from Cuba, which includes guaguancó, Colombia, and yambu. Those 3. Guaguancó, you hear it. You probably heard that before. Now I'm saying this group of rhythms, I'm playing it Havana style because Matanza plays it another way. Another part of Cuba will play it a different way. So when people tell me play I want go here, you want Havana or you want Matanza? You don't know what I'm talking about. But I want to make sure. But I got to hear the song and hear what it's about. If I hear it and this fits in better than the other one, for instance, this is the guaguancó that I played for Havana. You hear in Matanza, you hear only one hit. Now Havana, Matanza. Havana. Now you're separating it. Now you're doing some other stuff here. It's not basically everybody's gonna go. Now, if I go Havana, I'm playing this. If I go Matanza, if I go Havana, so those styles. So you got to know all those little things. Another rhythm is Colombia. Colombia in Havana. Let me see if I play. Let me see if I got a little. I don't know if you guys could hear this. Can you guys hear that clave there? I'm gonna play it. This is that one. I'm gonna put it at 120. Now that's Rumba Colombia in Havana. Now Colombia in Matanzas is a whole total different sounding one. This is again Havana. I'm gonna switch over to Matanzas. Havana. Now, back to the Wawanko also. Matanza, right? Havana. Matanza. And so forth. Now the last one of the three in that group of the rumba is the yambu. The yambu is played like in cajon boxes, and you probably seen videos of that when they play in boxes. And it is like the wawanko but slow. It's taken and it's played with a son clave. These are the ones that play with rumba clave, the wawanko and the Colombia. But now we'll do a son clave. See how slow? So it's played at really that slow of a tempo. So it's like the wawanko. And these are 3 or 4 people playing different parts. So I'm only doing the hybrid as far as playing this in Latin jazz. So I would bring that together in a certain tune that I hear that rhythm in there. I could put Colombia in there. I could put Colombia from Matanza, which have a different color altogether if it has that spacing that I can use. You know that. You know, and it gives you a different air than these rhythms, I try to infuse them with the Latin jazz. With my band is that's what I do. I like to use Afro Peruano rhythms, the lando, the cajon. I like to do danzones, which are very pretty. Danzón is very pretty from Cuba, contradance. It's a mixture of the French and the European French and the danza from Cuba, the danzón. I like to mix all that stuff up, the Afro bomba jazz. Some people who specialize in Afro Puerto Rican rhythms and music that write that are still alive and playing is William Cepeda from Puerto Rico. Papo Vasquez also does a lot of bomba jazz, which they're rooted in that rhythm most of the time for their music. So they like to pronounce that even more than their regular 4/4 Latin jazz, which they have, but they want to keep that tradition alive of the Afro Puerto Rican sound, which they also implement not only the congas on there, but or when you play that rhythm of bomba, they have bariles, which is like a conga drum. It's like a barrel. It's a little bit bigger and shorter. It's about maybe 20 inches in height. These drums are about 30 inches. So they're 20 inches in height and they're shorter and wider. They're like barrels, bariles they called. They use the traditional drums, panderas they use for the plena. And they use that with the modern chords and jazz chords and the arranging of very modern arranging, but yet the Afro-Caribbean rhythms to blend in with that. That's our Latin jazz format for Latin. That's the format for Latin jazz, which is Afro-Caribbean rhythms with the jazz harmonies. So what I try to do with my group is take the most advanced in the jazz, in jazz, and I dig down in the bottom for the roots of the rhythms and try to put a marriage, if you will, of those two, of the most progressive jazz with the most rooted rhythms, Afro rhythms, and mix that together to get the best of both worlds, but to do it authentically. The jazz has got to be right. It's got to be authentic jazz. It's not sometimes if you do Latin jazz, they'll do a salsa jazz. They'll have a montuno. Myself, I don't like too many montunos, unless it's for a certain section, like for solos. I like more comping, like in jazz, and there's some parts of the songs that I lay out as a percussionist. I won't play because it goes into a straight ahead swing and I want it to sound authentically like that. So then that's when I'll do some effects in between there and in between there. Give a little effects in between there until I come in. After their solos and everything here, we go into a heavy montuno. Maybe I'll solo. That's my turn to solo. But this is what I like to do because a lot of people will play the typical jazz tumbao. But you don't hear that in Cannonball's records or anybody in the jazz. It was never put in there till later on, where Candido Chanoposo and the guys came from Cuba later on, put it in there. But I like to lay out a perfect example of that style of playing congas in jazz is Ray Barretto. He grew up here and he played with the heavy guys. He played with all these guys, and he had his own language, and he married the jazz with the Latin percussion in his style of playing his congas. It wasn't a typical salsa playing on his style for playing jazz. But yeah, when he plays salsa, that's when you change the channel and you go into your salsa thing. Now this is what I got to do here. You have to play this style, you got to play this. You got to play this style, you play here, like this. So it's a whole different thing. Like you don't play one thing to everything. You got to adapt to each style, and you got to play accordingly. You don't have to hit the tumbao like in the salsa all the way sometimes. In Latin jazz, sometimes we play at a very fast speed, and then you don't get to do this. So you got to cut it down and tumbao. Now I'm playing melodies because we're going at a warp speed, and also you have to have your stamina. You gotta pace yourself. You gotta pace yourself. You gotta breathe. There's certain breathing techniques that I use. I'm just gonna give one for now because it's almost about time. But I would do this is a basic tumbao. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will breathe in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, out, in, out. But not at one shot. You're breathing like you breathe normally. 2, 3, 4. So now you're making yourself one with the drum. Now, of course, some people say, "What happens when you do this?" You don't do that. You're faint. You start getting dizzy and stuff. But that's where I would do the reverse. I would breathe cut time. In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. So you have to, but don't breathe intentionally. Try to make your natural rhythm match the timing that you're playing there. It doesn't have to be exactly in 2, 3, 4. You might have to go in triplets or something, and that kind of feel. So at least to get a pattern, and that also keeps you in time. Keeps your body in time with the drum. So when I breathe, I'm relaxing now, and then when you hit the drum, you hit it with the weight of your hand. You don't strike it like hard. This is the weight of my hand. That's all you need. I don't need to do that. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for being here and checking out the show. Thank you. I want to thank the New York Poets Cafe. Next week we're gonna have Victor Rendon, and he's gonna explain some stuff on the timbales and also some rudiments and some examples. The week after that, Willie Martinez is gonna be here with his drums and also giving us some tips on his way of playing. Now, we're the 3 groups that play at the New York Poets Cafe for the Latin Jazz Series. I'm there the first week, Victor Rendon the second week, Willie Martinez the third week. So I'll see you the first Wednesday of every month. And thank you, New York. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody there for showing up. And watch the debate. Is that 9 o'clock? Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.